Hi guys, welcome back. I just wanted to give you a very quick up on these prints and how they dry before I reprint on top of them. So this one is the first one that I did. It was with purely black with some blue ink. Nothing much has really changed, really. The blue is still very fragmented and it has almost disappeared underneath the black. One thing I do have to say is the texture of this. It's much more, I want to say feelable, if that's even a word. I can feel the texture more on this one. This one's a lot more rougher texture than compared to the other printmaking ink that I do use. It's not a bad thing because naturally you don't go around touching all your prints, but it's just something to note because there's going to be more texture to it on the surface. The colour wise, it's pretty much the same standard my other printing process. Second one, yet again, is the same outcome really. This one had a lot more blue in it, but the black obviously again took over the composition. Same again, the texture's there, the pigment has lost a little bit, but that's expected. I also want to say the dryness is about the same. I normally leave a print a good day before allowing it to be piled on top of something and stored away, just because I don't want any excess ink that is really, really thick to spread about, because then it causes bleeds and all this other bits and pieces that you don't necessarily want. And then finally there is this piece which has dried lovely and nicely. The texture again really works, so I think actually putting a bit more ink on in terms of when you have a really wet saturated paper, it brings out these lovely marks, and actually the texture just, it comes out a lot more. You do lose a bit more pigment in the blue than the black, but that is quite obvious from the very start, from when you line up your Perspex board. But again, it's just one of those things you just have to work around with. If I have to do more printing layers on top of it to get a suitable outcome, then that's perfectly fine. I can deal with that. Rather it be not pigmented enough for me to then work on top of it, compares to just having one printing process where it's going to be way too pigmented after the first print, where you can't print on top of it even if it's a light colour. That is one of those things that I have found with my old ink. Whereas this time round, I think reprinting on top with the blue printing ink will be a success, and I am kind of excited but kind of scared at the same time, because I'm not sure how it's actually going to turn out, because I can't saturate the paper. I could probably dampen it with a bit of a spray, but I can't do it too much because the printing ink that is already on the surface will start to bleed, and doing that, it makes it uncontrollable. Sometimes that's a nice effect if you just want to go wacky and out there, if you've got a really solid block ink. But it's going to be one of those processes I'm going to have to experiment around with. But like I said, I always say this when it comes to paper, you've got two sides for a reason. So if one side doesn't work, you just turn it over and start all over again. So this is the Perspex. I'm just going to line it up again. What I am going to do, I'm going to add a little bit of water to it, just to allow it to merge and have different depths of pigmentation and dilution. That also makes a first and secondary boundary of colour on the paper, and it also means, because there's water in it, it makes it much more easier to press into. So I'm going to try the second print first, because this one's not as dark, so then I can see if I need to add in some more ink for pigment and dilution. Reprint, I'm going to have to press quite hard, so I'm just going to use my water bottle. Okay, so it has printed, which is something, but it hasn't printed as pigmented as I would have liked. So I think what I'm going to do is put on more ink and don't put any water on it. At the moment this is looking like a solid block. It's not the end of the world, because what I can actually do, I'm planning on buying white printing ink to put on top. If there's not a well pigmented printing ink, I can always resort to acrylic paint or oil paint if I need to. Probably acrylic, just because it's a bit cheaper, should we say, and I can work with it a bit more, and because if you put it on thickly it will go on the page a bit more better. But again, it's one of those things I'm going to have to process around. I'm going to have to fiddle around with until I get a proper sense of what I want. I think with the whole board I shouldn't have filled in the whole board. I think it's going to be one of those bits where I'm going to have to physically think about the composition a bit more, and maybe even involve some collage. So I actually do have some spare bits of paper hanging around, so I might just take a few moments just to put some bits on the board, or line the board up again, but a bit more ink, put some bits of paper in to make an interesting composition, and then go from there, really. I've actually done it top heavy, so I think I'll leave the collage out now, because I can always go back and do it. Okay, that did work. I think the main problem is that because it is such a light blue, well, dark blue, well, this blue is a lot more lighter than that one. If the composition was a bit more whiter pigment, it would work better. So I think the best thing to do is actually to go back over with acrylic paint, but with the white, just to lighten up some of the areas and just to give it a bit of control, and then it won't be as dark in some places, because if I tilt it you can see where the print of the ink is, and if I just had some sections that were back to white, just to bring it back a bit, that would just add to it so much more. And I do think still continuing to work with it is the only way out of trying to get this artwork to look as best as it possibly can. I know at the moment it doesn't really look like much, but there is development that can happen here, whether it be putting acrylic paint on top of it, or oil paint, or even doing some sort of collage, or even after it's dried I can go back over it with graphite and chalk, because the chalk is really nice contrast because it is white. Really bring back some of the white that I have lost in between it all, and then go from there, really. Even if it's just bit of mark making or putting a plant or drawing inside of it, that is just one idea that I could take this towards. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you have learned something about my process and my thought process as well as an artist, especially working with print and medium and all the lovely bits and pieces that you see in my channel. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe to my channel to see more videos, as well as my links to my social media are in the description box. Please check them out. If you'd like to see or buy my artwork, they are all on my eBay selling account, which is in a link in the description box as well. But until then, I shall see you guys next time, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye now.